Hello, hello. Welcome to 10 to 20 with Tanya. I'm Tanya, and today I have a story for you about backpacking in the United States. So, backpacking is similar to camping, but if you're a backpacker, you're like, no, they're not alike at all. Backpacking is when you put everything in a backpack and walk out into the forest, or you might say out into the wilderness, out into the desert, and camp or stay in nature. So, when I was younger, I loved to go backpacking. In fact, it was something that I did regularly. So I'm curious. I know there are a few of you here listening live. I'm wondering if you've ever been backpacking. And if you are listening to the recording, let me know in the comments as well if you've ever been backpacking or camping, or do you prefer neither of these? Like maybe you would prefer to stay in a hotel or stay at home for that matter. I am a nature person. I love to go out in nature. I haven't been backpacking in a long, long time, but when my girls were younger, we did a lot of tent camping. So we camping is to go out with a tent in general, but when you're a backpacker, you often make the distinction between tent camping and backpacking, or you might call it car camping. Car camping is when you put everything you need in your car, drive to a campground. Here's the word campground. And you set up your tent, and maybe you have a camp stove and all of the things you need. Usually, when you go tent camping or car camping, you have a lot more stuff you take with you than when you go backpacking, because when you're backpacking, you carry everything on your back. Hey, T. Um, and if you're carrying everything, you're going to bring a lot less. And especially um, food. Food can be very heavy, especially water. And a lot of people ask me, well, what do you drink? Do you carry all of your water? No, we would carry some water with us, but a lot of the time we would bring a water purifier like this. Um, and so we would find water usually in a creek or a stream, something where the water is moving, and we would use the purifier. Some people use purifying tablets. So when we purify something, it means we take all of the germs out, all of the bad things out, hopefully all the chemicals out so that it is pure, and then you can drink it. Of course, if you use a tablet, it's not taking the stuff out as much as it is killing any bacteria or something that might make you sick. So I'm going to check and see if anyone here has been. I don't see anybody saying anything about camping or backpacking. So you must all be city folk. City folk are people who enjoy spending more time in the city, or we might call them city dwellers. This is kind of camping talk, although you might use these types of words even if you're not a camper. So let me know, what is your experience? Have you been camping or no? You like it, you don't like it? Either one, of course, is okay. What you want to do is type some answers so that you're practicing your English while you're listening to me. I think we've talked about this before, and I'm going to get to my story here in just a second, but um, when you're learning English or any language really for that matter, you probably, if you're like most people, you probably need more output. So, input is when you're listening, like you're doing now, pardon me, or reading. You might be doing some of that now too. Those two typically are a little easier to do. And by easier, I mean there's a lot of available resources. But speaking and writing, which are output, it's not as easy to do those things. So you need to do them every chance you get. I see Jeff has a comment. Hey, Jeff, camping is not really my thing. I do like a little comfort while traveling. I tried camping once and had a terrible time. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yes, a lot of people don't like camping. They prefer having their creature comforts, we would say. Most people, I would say. Most people prefer having their creature comforts. So, creature comforts are just what we call either being at home with all the things, like heating and your bed and running water, all of those kinds of things. And you can get that, of course, if you go to a hotel or a motel. What are the creature comforts that are most important to you? What are the creature comforts you don't want to give up and therefore you don't go camping? Um, I am the kind of person who will give up almost all of my creature comforts to be out in nature. So, electricity, running water, comfy bed, all of those things are not as important to me as being out in nature. Now, having said that, of course, I have all those things in my house. However, I tend to live a much more simple lifestyle than most people because I love living in the forest and it just is more doable to have a little more simple lifestyle to do that in the forest. Okay, let's see what you all are saying. Explore K says, I like camping, especially in winter in the mountains. I didn't do a lot of winter camping myself, but I have done some and I do really enjoy winter camping. Backpacking, I'm more of a backpacker, but I do love to camp as well. I love the feeling of having a fire and being up close to the fire and the front of you is toasty warm, maybe even hot, and the back of you is cold. It's so amazing. Of course, I have winter camping gear, so it makes it a lot more doable. Um, Holzak says, I went camping with my son in my backyard. Okay. When we were kids, we used to backpack, or pardon me, camp in our backyard too. My parents were campers. I don't think either of them ever went backpacking, but because they had a lot of camping equipment, we would camp in our backyard. Hey, Yosinaldo, good to see you. And you've never been camping. You definitely need to go camping. You should at least try it. Hopefully, you won't have a bad experience like Jeff. And Jeff, I would say you might want to try it again because there's so many wonderful things about it. But some people like glamping. This is the word glamour and camping together. And so they call it glamping. Glamping is not my first choice, but I won't knock it. I won't knock it means I won't speak badly about it because I'd rather go glamping than not go at all. So typically, when you go glamping, you take a motorhome or a camper so that you have like a little kitchen. You might even have a little bathroom. Um, and you probably definitely have a real bed. When you go backpacking, you're usually sleeping on the ground, maybe with a camp mat, which is just something very thin that you put on the ground. There's so many different things that we could talk about, but today I want to tell you my story of going backpacking probably 30 years ago. Okay, maybe not quite that long ago. More 25 years ago. Esme, come here. Come here. And at this time, I had a bigger dog. SB, as you know, is kind of a medium-sized dog. I had a bigger dog at the time named DOG. DOG, if you think about this, is an English name. A lot of people thought that her name was Japanese or Chinese. No, it's English. I heard this name. Somebody made it up. I did not make it up. But it's just DOG, like dog, but you say it quickly, DOG. So I had a lot of fun having this name for my dog because when I would go backpacking, people would ask me her name and I would say, oh, it's DOG. And they would say, oh, what language is that? And I'd say English. And they would say, well, what does that mean? And I'd say dog. And they'd go, I've never heard this word, and I'd say it slowly. And instead of saying DOG, they'd say DOG. And they would not realize that they were spelling the word dog. So it was very fun and funny to see the look on their face when they got it and they were like, oh, DOG, dog. The reason I bring up the dog that I had is because at this time I was dating a man who had a big German Shepherd. German Shepherd. I'm sure I spelled that correctly, but I think I did. And DOG was a mutt. If you know what a mutt is, put your answer in the comments or in the chat here. She was a Weimaraner. Weimaraner. I don't know if I can spell dog breeds correctly. A Weimaraner mutt. Does anybody know what a mutt is? So the guy I was dating and I both had big dogs. We went backpacking, and I don't remember why. Usually we would go and get there during the day, but this particular time we got there at night. For some reason, we got held up. We got held up, meaning for some reason we were taking longer than we had planned to. Maybe we got held up in traffic. Maybe one of us got held up at work. I don't remember. This was a long time ago. I think maybe 20 or 25. Well, no, more than 25 years ago, because this was before Tiana was born. Maybe it was 30 years. Anyway, it was a long time ago. Anyway, so when we got to the place we were going to backpack, we realized we weren't going to have time to hike in with our backpacks. So we were going to walk down into this canyon. So we weren't going to be next to our car. We'd walk down into this canyon just a little ways to set up our camp. And when we got our backpacks on and started walking down into this canyon, we weren't on a trail. And we're walking along, and the guy that I was with says to me, "Stop." And there in front of us was a wild animal, a big wild animal. You want to guess what kind of wild animal it was? I'll give you a hint. It is not something you want to see out in the wild at night. I guess some people might want to see it. It could be very dangerous, I should say. Not a moose. I'll give you another hint. We were in Arizona. It could have been a bear, but it was not a bear. I see some good guesses here. While you all are thinking about what it may have been, yes, Holzak says a mutt is something that's not purebred. A mutt is a type of dog that is not purebred, but we could say that is mixed breed. So SB is a mixed breed or a mutt. DOG, my other dog, was a mutt. Any other guesses on the wild animal that we saw? While you're thinking about it, a Sasquatch. Wasn't a Sasquatch. If you don't know what a Sasquatch is, like a mythical human ape, kind of hairy, looks a little bit like a person, like Bigfoot. They're not real, although some people swear they are real. Bigfoot, Holzak says Bigfoot. No, not Bigfoot, not a Sasquatch. This was an actual animal on 4 legs. And luckily, we had on our headlamps. SP, come here. And a headlamp, I'll write this in the chat here. A headlamp is like a light or a flashlight that goes around your head so you don't have to hold on to it. So it's just shining out. And my boyfriend said to me, turn your headlamp on, turn your headlamp on. So I did. And we shined our headlamps at this wild animal. Now, I was thinking about this last night when I was thinking of telling you about it. And I was trying to remember, like, actually seeing this animal. I remember the eyes of the animal because our headlamps were shining in her eyes. We think it was probably a her. Um, and but and I remember the size of the animal being big because the eyes were up from the ground, but seeing the whole animal, I don't have that picture in my mind. John, the guy I was with, he totally saw it more than I did because what happened was the 2 dogs we had, these 2 huge dogs, both got so scared, they both ran behind me, and they were both, like, cowering. His cowering behind me. I'm gonna write this here. Now, a child sometimes will cower behind their mother. They aren't actually going like this, but they're scared. They're like hiding behind somebody, like making themselves small. This is cowering. I see somebody said maybe it was a new. Jeff guesses a new. Or Orkan, I'm not sure I'm saying your name right, says deer. It was not a deer. It was not in the deer family. Orkin also says wolf was not in the wolf family, so it wasn't a wolf or a coyote or a wild dog. It wasn't a deer or a moose or anything in that family. It was not in the bear family, so it wasn't a black bear or brown bear or a grizzly bear. I'm going to see if anybody can think of either the exact animal we saw or the family of animals that we might have seen. Jeff says, I'm going for broke here. Like I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to go out on a limb. It's like, this is my last guess. I'm really going to take a chance at this one. He says, a dingo. No, it wasn't a dingo. Um, I will say, at another camping trip we went on, I was actually tent camping with my girls, and I heard something huge outside the tent. We were in a campground, and I was sure it was a bear because it was um, walking around in our camp close to our tent. It was right as the sun was coming up, so it was still kind of dark, and I could hear it snorting. This is a snort. And it was like sniffing the food. It was a donkey, not the one I saw on the backpacking trip, but on this other camping trip, there was a donkey in our camp, a wild donkey, which is like a kind of like a smallish horse, but still very big. It wasn't gonna hurt us, but it really scared me. I was just myself and my 2 little girls, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna die. It's a bear." It was not a bear. Um, let's see. Nobody I'm going to give you the family of animals that I saw on this backpacking trip. So, I'm gonna give you another hint first. It's not in the dog family, but it's another family of animals that we have domestically. So dogs are domesticated wolves or coyotes. What's the other animal we often have as a pet domestically? I have one actually in my house. Uh, hey, Patrick, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Okay, I need to finish this story because I just have a little bit more time. So the family of animals that this animal it's in the cat family. It's in the cat family. So not a little house cat. What do you think it could have been if it's in the cat family? So while you're thinking about that, and write your answer in the comments or the chat. So we have our headlamp shined in this big cat's eyes. And my boyfriend says to me to back up. And I was like, I'm not going to move. And he was like, this, back up. Didn't want to move. So he was like, back up and take the dogs with you. So back up, move backwards very slowly. And he said, keep your headlamp shining in her eyes because she was like frozen. What we kind of knew, but mostly we were just so scared we weren't thinking about it, is that she was probably as scared as us. The problem is that when a wild animal like this gets scared, it might attack. I didn't want to leave him there alone with this wild animal, but he was insisting. He was saying I had to. So I slowly started backing up with my headlamp towards the animal, and he was doing the same thing. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure how he got this animal to go away. I was so scared. All I remember is getting back up on the rim of the canyon, on the rim of the canyon. So this is the rim of my glass. This is a rim. If you're in a canyon, when you get back up to the level ground, this is the rim of the canyon. And I was crying because I thought that my boyfriend was going to either get very hurt or maybe even killed by this animal. Okay, I see some guesses that are much closer now. Jeff says a leopard. Um, Holzak says a jaguar, and Josinaldo says a panther. These are all in the same family. It was a mountain lion. It was a mountain lion. Um, Somehow he got the mountain lion to go away. I remember him telling me about it, but I was so scared and so shocked and so upset. I don't remember that part of the story. The part I do remember after that is, I don't know, maybe we were crazy. We went ahead and hiked down to the bottom of this canyon, built a campfire, but instead of putting up a tent, we slept by the campfire because we didn't want to put the fire out. We wanted to stay by the campfire because wild animals don't want to be by a campfire. And so we put our sleeping bags around. So we had like the campfire in the middle and a sleeping bag on both sides. This is my coaster, something you put your cup on so that it, because see how it put a ring on the coaster? So I put my cup on the coaster so that my glass doesn't ruin the table. Anyway, so we had the campfire and our sleeping bags around it. But what I remember is we were scared, but these dogs were so scared they crawled down into the bottom of our sleeping bags and slept at our feet inside our sleeping bags. And these were both very big dogs. I was scared. I don't think either of us really slept. We took turns trying to stay awake to keep the fire going. I don't think either of us really slept. We tried to rest a little bit until it got light outside. We did not see the mountain lion again, and we continued on backpacking for the rest of the weekend, the rest of the trip, and had a great time. No one got hurt. The dogs didn't get hurt, which was one of our biggest fears. Sometimes a dog will charge the wild animal. If you charge something, you can charge something on a credit card, but if you are charging, like a bull will charge at people, an animal will charge at another animal, like run at them quickly to charge something or an animal or something. But neither of the dogs charged the mountain lion. They were actually very scared and got behind me. Not that I could have protected them. We actually both had big dogs as thinking that we had protection, and they were protective of us against other people. In fact, Dog one time definitely protected me on a hike from another person. But as far as a big wild animal, no, they were not helpful at all. But luckily, neither of them got hurt. So I'm curious if anybody has any questions. This is such a great way to improve your vocabulary, your listening skills, even your grammar, to listen. And if you understood 90% or more, this is the perfect listening level for you. If you understood a little less, I would suggest listening again. Even if you understood a lot, I would suggest listening again and see if there were some things you missed the first time. And if you have not heard about the new change in our women's speaking program has changed names from Women Speak Better to She Speaks. And if you want more information about that, you can go to the link that I'll put below when I post this video, and you can find out more about the program and also get on the waiting list. We will be opening the doors to the program again soon. I haven't figured out the exact date yet because I'm working on learning some technical things. If you've been with me live here before, you know that learning technical things is a challenge for me. But I'm getting that going. So if you have any questions, I would love to answer your questions about it either in the comments here, or you can direct message me on Instagram, or you can email me. The email is under all of my videos here on YouTube and also on my website, which is English Coach 3Ts. So I'm going to look and see if there are any questions here. Okra likes my coaster. Thank you. This coaster came from a job that Tiana had. They made these coasters. It's just a piece of wood. It's wet, so it's kind of hard to see. But when they cracked like this, then they wouldn't sell them at their store. I personally really like the crack. So Tiana got these coasters for me. Actually, she brought them when we lived together, and they're still here. Mountain lion, Ingles says mountain lion equals Snagglepuss. Hanna-Barbera's cartoon. Yes, on the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, they had a mountain lion named Snagglepuss. Holzak says, what a horrible memory. Do you still want to go camping? Mountain camping. Yes, I went backpacking a lot after that. I don't know. I was never really afraid of animals. I was really scared on that particular trip. I mean, really, really scared. But I don't know. I just love being out in nature. I am very cautious. I take precaution. I'm careful. If I'm hiking in bear country, I take bear spray with me. We do have bears in this part of the mountain, but they are not in the places where I hike, because here I typically hike in more populated hiking areas like hiking trails, things like that. And you're not going to see something like that. And even if you do, there's a lot of people around. Another question I see here. Patrick asks, is it made in the USA, the coaster, or was it made in China? No, this is actually made here in my town. It is a tree that somebody sawed. To cut a tree like this is to saw it. I'll put that verb in the chat here, to saw. Somebody just took a branch of a tree like this and sawed it. It's not even finished. It's just a raw sawed tree from here in my town. That's a great question. Josinaldo says, was there history about waterfall? In Josinaldo, do you mean, a story? Do I have a story about a waterfall? In Spanish and Portuguese, history is very similar to the word it's a false friend, is what I'm trying to say. In English, history is about like things that happen in the past, like the Revolutionary War, or uh, Abraham Lincoln was the president who freed the slaves. This is a history. SB, a story is what I'm telling you now. Yes, I do have some stories with waterfalls. I'll have to think about it. This is a good idea. Good question, Josinaldo. I'll think about that, and maybe we'll talk about that on another time. Which reminds me, I did put a survey or a poll in my community tab, I think, here on YouTube, and people said what they would like to see in the lives. And the number one thing people said was stories like this. That's why I'm telling a story today. So if you want to put your opinion, you can go to the community tab and look there. I think I will continue to tell stories because this is something that's very popular among people here on my YouTube channel. Let me see if I missed any other questions. Welcome, everyone. I love it that you're letting me know where you're from. I think I got the questions. If I missed your question, you can go and put it on the recorded version in the comments. I try to get to the comments as many as I can the first 24 hours after I post a video. So if you have questions, try to get them there when I first uh, post the video. Otherwise, um, yeah, that's the best place. Or to come to the live, obviously, is another good place to ask questions. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for this story. I hope you enjoyed it. If there are other stories, topics like waterfalls, like Josinaldo said, or other topics you'd like me to tell you about, other stories you'd like me to share with you, you can put them here or over in the community tab, and I will try to think of stories to share with you on those topics. And I will see you in another live very soon. Bye bye.